What's up, guys? This is Adrian, the Comeback Sports Podcast, and this is Season 5, Episode 2. I'm glad to start this new episode. Today's been a pretty good day. Got some work done. Got a quick workout in before this to get the blood pumping. Now it's time to crank out a new episode. So we'll be going over a few topics regarding, a little bit of NBA, a little bit of track, and then some college football. So let's start with the Los Angeles Lakers. So quick news. Los Angeles Lakers forward Anthony Davis has agreed to a 3-year contract of $186 million maximum contract extension, tying him to the franchise through 2028 for a total of $270 million. This just means there's a lot of high expectations, not only for LeBron, but for AD now, especially since LeBron is definitely getting close to his, actually pretty much is his last leg of his career. So, some of that weight has to be put on AD now. Now he has this super max contract extension. So we'll see how he does, because once he's on, man. So he just has to stay healthy, because we definitely don't want to see Anthony day-to-day Davis, as some people joke around. So next topic related to the Lakers is actually related to HBO, or Max is what they call it now since they got bought out. It's time for another season of Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. So those who don't know what that show is, it's a series based on the journalist Jeff Pearlman's book, Showtime. Its first season recounted the dawn of the legacy of the Los Angeles Lakers in the 80s, known as the Showtime Lakers. So you had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson. And it was ran by their womanizing owner, Jerry Buss, played by John C. Reilly, who's just really great and such a charismatic, funny guy on that show and in other shows and movies too. I really enjoyed season 1, so I'm excited again to season 2. And according to some reviews, season 2 spans the years from 1980 to 1984, in which the Lakers got off to a rocky start after winning the title in the 1980 season, and the Lakers were eliminated the next season in the first round of the playoffs. So season 2 addressed what comes after that tough playoff run. So as I watch the show, which I'm probably watching every Sunday, I'll definitely do some reviews and kind of give my thoughts on how I'm liking season 2. And I want to transition to boxing, or at least somewhat relate boxing, because these two guys aren't necessarily professional boxers, but they're definitely Showtime in a different sense. So YouTuber and social media influencer Jake Paul fights MMA fighter Nate Diaz, and Jake Paul wins by decision after knocking down Nate Diaz. Going into this, I didn't really know too much, because I just don't follow this sort of style of boxing, being like non-boxers going against other non-boxers, being a YouTuber going against an MMA fighter. Like, I like to watch boxing that's more like their craft is revolved around the exact sport of boxing. And looking into the Instagram posts on SportsCenter, it just didn't look to me that Nate Diaz really took this fight seriously from the beginning. Out of shape and not really focused at all. And at one point in the fight, he was trolling too. Like, he'd just be doing weird things and going on the ropes and just talking to people in the stands in the middle of the fight. To me, it looked like he was just looking for a payday, and he knew he didn't really have to win to get the payday he wanted. And I feel bad for Jake Paul. I mean, because of these sort of matches, no one's really going to take him seriously as a boxer, because he's fighting people that really just want to go for those paydays, where there aren't actual real boxers. An example would be Nate Robinson or Frank Gore. So in order to kind of get out of this reputation that he has with boxing, I think he just really needs to fight someone who's a true boxer. And it's kind of hard for him, because he just doesn't have those credentials or that rep to do that yet. And so for now, the story goes that Jake Paul only fights non-boxers, or people that are going to take a payday for the fight to be rigged. I would like to see him actually fight someone that's really notable, so I can really get a good grasp of how good of a boxer really is. But based on what I've seen and what I've heard, already has a nice power to his punch. So that's kind of good going. That's a good thing going for him. I want to talk about track now. So Athing said, her team said that she has not made a decision yet about the 800-meter race at Worlds. So according to Los Angeles Times, the American record holder in the 800 might train through Worlds to prepare for the Olympics in 2024. So in short, she is going to skip the World Championships. That way she would be more prepared for the Olympics the following year. Smart move or not a smart move? It's an interesting move just because, like, if you're the best in the best, because she won the Olympics last year and she's the record holder in the 800 in America, the easy decision is you just run through whatever race is thrown at you because you are that person to do it. And maybe there's more that's not uncovered here because this is very strange to me. If I were to make an assumption, I think she might be injured or running injured, and it may not do her. It wouldn't put her in a good position if she raced in these World Championships and when 2024 rolls around for the Olympics. I just think if it's true, they just need to say, hey, she's injured, she can't run at Worlds. Simple as that. If it's something outside of that, then I don't see an issue running at Worlds because plenty of athletes, not even the best athletes in this sport, have done races this close to the biggest race of them all being the Olympics. So I don't want to say it's a smart move or not. I just think there needs to be more uncovered to determine what's really going on with this decision to run or not run at Worlds. I want to go into probably my favorite segment of the day, which is the disbursement of the Pac-12 conference. So in recent news, you got Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, and probably others for whoever wants to join, are going to be joining the Big 12 in the 2024 season. And then on top of that, you got Oregon and Washington who want to join the Big 10. And not to mention UCLA and USC are already going to join the Big 10 the following season. So we got a big powerhouse conference here. And some news speculating of why these teams are leaving is the Pac-12 has long tailed behind the other so-called Power 5 conferences in terms of their media rights deals. So I guess in short, these schools are just getting the short end of the stick, staying within the Pac-12 versus what they could be getting in other conferences like the Big 10 and Big 12. And I forgot to mention that starting this season, you got BYU, UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati. They're going to be joining the Big 12 starting this season. So this is huge because right now the Big 10 and the Big 12 are the biggest conferences in the country. I think Big 12 and SEC are have the same amount, but still those are the top amount of teams in general. What this means for the Big 10 in terms of divisions is it's going to go away starting 2024. I think this is huge and very good in terms of not only how to determine your what's I'm looking for, your strength of schedule, but also your path to the Big 10 championship game. Because it's always been East versus West. I mean, I have nothing against the West. I follow teams closely in the West, considering Wisconsin. If you were to take the best defensive players in the West and the best defensive players in the East, the West is going to win. But overall, as a team, the East is just way more competitive and way more higher talent as an overall team. So it's just not fair when you have this weaker division going against this powerhouse division where the second best team in that division can easily beat the best team in the West. So with these other schools joining in, being UCLA and USC and all these other schools, you have to get rid of it because it doesn't make sense. Because those schools are in the further West. What are you going to call it? The Super West or the Wester division? So it just makes sense to get rid of it and to have a better balance of power within the conference when the championship game comes around. And as I mentioned, you can also put yourself in a better position in terms of having a stronger strength of schedule if you really are that good of a team to really make a case for the playoffs. So that's what I like about it. So in Big Ten, we'll have the most dominant conference depth right behind SEC because you got notable teams like Ohio State, Michigan, USC, and Oregon. Basketball will be different too, and this is more towards the Big 12. Big 12 will become the best college basketball conference in my opinion because you got you got March Madness teams that you see on the daily, like every year, like Kansas, Houston, Baylor, and Iowa State sometimes comes in there. I'm a little biased because I went to Iowa State, but, they've had a couple good runs in the last 10 years. And so those are still 4 notable teams from that same conference now that you're including Houston in the mix. So I like it. So Big Ten is going to be more dominant in football, and the Big 12 is going to be more dominant in basketball. And then that does include the other sports too. So I'm excited to see track and cross country in terms of what that dynamic is going to be like when those smaller sports kind of go into play as well. So Pac-12, there's 4 teams left now. You got Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, and Stanford. What do you think is going to happen with them? They're going to move. They have to go to a different conference. You can't do a full schedule within a four-team conference. It just wouldn't work out, in my opinion. And you can't. There's only so many teams that are going to allow independent schools or other non-conference schools into their schedule. So, if I were to make a guess, I would say 1 or 2 of these teams are probably going to go to the Mountain West, or they'll just join the Big 10 or Big 12. So I want to close off this show with kind of a little bit deeper topic. So on Netflix, there's going to be a documentary about Johnny Manziel, a.k.a. Johnny Football. And this comes out on Tuesday. So today's Monday, so by the time this goes out, it's going to be released. But before the release of this, there were reviews or news that Johnny Manziel said in the document that he attempted suicide after the Cleveland Browns cut him in 2016. So to kind of give you a little more context of kind of what led to this is here's what happened. So I got a couple of notes that kind of explains this. So in Netflix's Untold Johnny Football documentary, this is following the 2015 season, he began using OxyContin and cocaine daily, according to multiple reports. And he dropped from 250 pounds in January to 175 in September. Manziel faced a misdemeanor assault charge after being accused of hitting and threatening his then-girlfriend in January 2016. And in March of 2016, the Browns officially cut him. Manziel said in the documentary, according to multiple reports, that he was later diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Here's a quote that he says in the documentary. I had planned to do everything I wanted to do at that point in my life, spend as much money as I possibly could, and then my plan was to take my life. Manziel said in the documentary, according to multiple reports, I wanted to get as bad as humanly possible to where it made sense, and it made it seem like an excuse and an out for me. So a little bit more about who Johnny Manziel is. Not only was he a Cleveland Brown quarterback in the mid-2010s, he was a superstar quarterback for Texas A&M, and he became a Heisman winner and a finalist the following year. He was Johnny Football because he was football at that time. He was at the high of his highs, and he made it to the NFL, became a first-round pick, and then he went to the low of his lows, and which led to this story we just talked about. So, in short, Manziel had it all, and then he lost it all. And the quote that I read from him really stuck to me, because, in my opinion, he was very brave to kind of admit that he wanted to justify what he was trying to do. You should never go about ending something because there's just more to it. And for him, I understand why he thought of these things and did these things. And he was looking, like he said, he was looking for an out. And he obviously needed help, and he didn't seek help at that time. Years later, Manziel seems to be in a much better place. I saw him play football for a couple of leagues, and I've seen a couple of podcast interviews he's done. He just looks better. So I'm very happy that he continued to live his life and didn't resort to doing that again. There's more to life, and people are hurting, and they go through a lot of bad things. And there's some things I can't understand because I haven't been in that situation. But there's someone that wants you around or wants you on this planet, and you shouldn't have to go down that path and go into lead yourself to that end. So this is for anybody that's struggling, because I've had my struggles too, and I worked my way through those struggles. I seeked help, or I talked to people, and every little bit helps in terms of what you can do or what your resources are. So I'm going to put a number down here if you know someone, or if it's yourself that's ever had thoughts of ending your own life, then definitely reach out or call this number if you think this is what's best for you. So sorry to end this show on a bad note, but it just really stuck out to me as a very heartbreaking story, because I was a huge fan of Johnny Football in college. I thought he was Showtime and really got me to love college football when I was in college watching him play. But thank you again for everyone watching this episode. I hope you had a good time, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. So remember to like, subscribe, and of course share this video with a friend, because every little bit helps. And I appreciate anyone that stuck around to watch and is willing to listen to me jabble on sports and all that good stuff. So everyone take care and have a good week.